Hello, sports fans. We've got another thrilling episode on the latest in hoops and volleyball. Hello, I'm Paulo Del Rosario.
And I'm Boom Gonzalez. Let's kick things off with big news for Pinoy basketball fans. Coach Tim Cone takes the helm as head coach for Gilas Pilipinas men following his historic win in the Hangzhou Asian Games, along with Coach Richard Del Rosario as team manager. The Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas announced the winningest coach in PBA history will lead a team of the country's top hoopers through the upcoming FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers and the Olympic qualifying tournament. With a winning pedigree and a carefully selected core of players, Coach Tim Cone is poised to elevate Philippine basketball to new heights once again.
Now, speaking of Gilas, let's hear from someone who knows all about winning with the national squad and Coach Tim Cone. Gilas Pilipinas team manager, Coach Richard Del Rosario. I really hate introducing you, Dad. Hello, and thank you for coming on the show.
Can I fire the first question?
Go!
Who's the better looking Del Rosario? I-settle na natin. I-settle na natin yan.
Yes, original. Of course.
Okay, I'm done for the night. Thank you.
I don't know how to start all of a sudden. Okay, no. But first of all, Dad, again, congratulations, team manager for Gilas Pilipinas, and also working alongside Coach Tim Cone. I want to ask about, I know the story, but I want you to share it siguro with everyone. When Coach Tim Cone asked you to be part of the staff as a team manager, what was your initial thoughts and reaction? Kasi iba talaga ang trabaho ng isang team manager for a national team.
Well, of course, I was surprised. I didn't expect it. But again, he said it makes sense because of our working relationship throughout the years, no? And he's, the comfort level. There has to be a good rapport between the coach and the team manager, for a program to be successful. And I take the challenge. I think me being a former player would be able to anticipate the needs of the players, international tournaments, whatever they need, logistically, nutrition, training, and also being a coach. I also know what Coach Tim needs for trainings to be successful and the preparation. So I can do that in advance, even before the actual training starts. I see this position not as a position of authority. I see it as a position of service, that I really need to be of service to the players and the coaches as well. Kasi the common concept of being a manager is yun, dapat yung boss. But I look at it differently. It has to be, I have to do my work for them to be successful. And that's going to be my goal, to really take care of things in advance, to try to look ahead so that they won't have to think about anything else but just performing at their best during the competition.
Speaking of competition, Coach, coming from a high of the last international competition, a lot has been said already. You've talked about it. Coach Tim has talked about it, especially right after the competition when all the emotions were running high. Now that you've been able to detach yourself from it for a while now and have gone through different things already in the PBA and all that, when you look back at that Asian Games conquest, what's your, your recollection, and what things do you remember about it that you probably have not talked about yet?
Well, I think it's just a lesson of being selfless. As we mentioned even before when the team was formed, when players were asked if they were willing to be a part of that team, they didn't have any second thoughts. Everybody just said yes. They were really willing to represent the country, even with a short preparation that they knew that we had. There was no talk about financial compensation. All they wanted to know is when does practice start. And when you have a group of guys that are selfless like that, I think that's the biggest recipe for success. And it carried on during that tournament. With guys looking out for each other, everybody was treated equally, from the management, from the coaches, to the players, to the support staff. Everybody was just one big group, one big team, even though we didn't have enough time to really prepare for it. But
Right.
the team was really formed and gelled completely. And I think it showed. That's why even during the darkest moments of that campaign, we were still able to rise above it and eventually get the goal that nobody was really expecting for us to get.
Yeah, given that just to connect it to what's happening now, there has been a 12 announced already for the upcoming FIBA Asia Cup window for Gilas Pilipinas. The new Gilas 12 includes some guys that, if I'm not mistaken, you and Coach Tim haven't necessarily handled in the past. Just tell us a bit about the confidence level in this group, because even Coach Tim Cone said in an interview during the PSA awards night that he aims to keep the core together for at least 4 years. Just looking at this construction, what are your initial thoughts and in terms of yung confidence that this is the group that could at least start out the era of Coach Tim Cone as Gilas team head coach?
Well, I think it's a very good mix of veterans and young players. So you have a team that can win now, and you have a team that can still grow and win in the future. And that's what we're looking at, the continuity of the program. Of course, we would want to keep this core intact as much as possible. But of course, since 4 years is a long way, uh, it a lot of things can still happen. So we have to give room for adjustments. And however, as of this point, we are committed to these players. We asked for the players' commitment, and when Coach Tim talked to them individually, they gave their commitment. But I think it's very important, though, as we ask for the commitment of the players, that everybody, not just the federation, not just the coaching staff, but the entire country, let's commit to the players also. I think the biggest mistake or what happens in our country is that when we don't perform well, we always ask for change. And we have to accept the fact that we will not win all games. And if we don't win some of the games, it doesn't mean that we have to scratch what we started and start from zero once again. So we really have to commit to these guys. As we ask them to commit to the program, we all have to commit and support these guys. And I think if we have that, I think we'll be able to do good things. Let's learn from the success of other national team programs as well. Guys from Iran before had the same players in whatever tournaments they participated in. You got Haddadi and Kamrani, and parang tanda-tanda na nila, they were still the ones really competing for it. And they had success, and they were able to mentor the younger guys that came in for the national team. So as this group grows longer together, as they learn to really appreciate each other and develop that chemistry, I think good things will be in store for our national team program.
It's an exciting lineup of 12 players. They look good. And it sounds like you're off to a great start. And I know in the months to come, we'll talk more about the Gilas 12 and your job, of course, as team manager. But first, Coach, stay where you are, because when we return, usapang PBA naman tayo. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. Welcome back. You're still watching the game. Lipat muna tayo from Gilas to the PBA. We're still, of course, with Barangay Ginebra assistant coach Richard Del Rosario. Coach, I know you don't want to talk about it, but
Yeah. Can you give me a moment, please?
yeah, but we have to explain your emotions. No, but in all seriousness, Coach, tell us what are your takeaways of that toughly fought series. I know it was a sweep, but every single game there were chances for Ginebra there, and I know Coach Tim Cole was very proud of the effort, maybe not of the result, but the effort of each and every single game of that series.
Yes, I think yes, it was 3-0, but I think we had chances in all those games. In game one, we had opportunities in the end game. They just made the big shots. We missed ours. They just flexed their depth and how strong their team really is. Of course, game one, it was CJ Perez. We were able to limit Boatwright a little bit, but
Right.
CJ Perez was there to take up the cudgels. And of course, and when it came to game two, it was Boatwright and Marcio Lassiter. Marcio just flashed vintage form and just shot the lights out and came, and even guys like Jerome Teng contributed from the bench. And then game three, you still had Boatwright, you still had Marcio, and then came Jericho Cruz. So they really have a lot of weapons. We have guys that can match up to them, but again, and we had open looks. We had a lot of opportunities that we were not able to take advantage of. And we made a lot of mistakes in the end game. And if you play a good team like that and you commit mistakes, they really make you pay. And unfortunately, things did not go our way. In the perfect world, if you work hard, then you're supposed to be rewarded, but it's not a perfect world. So again, kudos to San Miguel. They deserve to be in the finals.
Yeah, I want to give flowers to Tony Bishop as well, because he came in with the unenviable task of having to replace a certain Justin Brownlee for Barangay Ginebra. But at least in the playoffs, he was able to give you guys a fighting chance. Just how impactful was he for the group, considering that it was going to be always difficult replacing who a lot of people consider to be the GOAT of imports in Justin Brownlee?
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. In our team, we made it a point, even before Tony came in, that we will not make any comparison between him and Justin. Okay, we had Tony, and we want to maximize his strengths, and we didn't feel that with our lineup that we would need a ball dominant import and a high scoring import, because we've always wanted an import that would complement guys. Justin would give you big games when he needed to, but all throughout his stint with Ginebra, he was a complementary guy as well. I think Tony is just being compared because Boatwright is a heavy scorer. He was scoring averaging 40 points even before the semifinals started. And we were not asking that from Tony. We wanted him to defend. We wanted him to make the right reads. But again, I think Tony really fit us well. He did great for us. Unfortunately, our shots did not fall in those last moments of the game. And San Miguel just executed better and performed better in the end game.
I love how Coach Tim Cone, obviously, love listening to you guys when you break down these games, and he was talking about how technically they were killed by the high-low plays, the big to big plays, and then you just mentioned the Boatwright Marshall Lassiter two-man game that also had its moments, obviously. What did you do right, Coach, when you look at the series? Like you said, you were there, right there in all of those games. The positive takeaways from the series for you, other than the effort that we talked about?
I think we were able to keep the scores low, which is what we wanted. Before the final started, San Miguel was already near the 100 or 100. They had 100 points at the end of the third quarter. And we knew that if we engaged San Miguel in a shootout, we wouldn't have a chance. We would get blown out of the series. Again, I think we were able to do that in the series to keep the scores low, make it more of a defensive ball game. That's why we were comfortable with it. That's why even when we lost game one or game two, of course, we were disappointed with those losses. But after reviewing game tapes, we still had that confidence that we can come back in this series and win a game at least, because this is a tempo that we wanted. This is the type of uh, play that we wanted to engage it. But again, San Miguel just proved that they can play the same way, and that's why they are in the finals.
Well, Dad, right now I'm going to transition to the All Filipino Conference next time around, and it's going to be a bit busier, maybe for you personally, and of course, Coach Tim Cone, considering okay, you have another extra job with Gilas Pilipinas as well. Just how would you feel Barangay Ginebra will handle that transition in terms of preparation, getting ready for next conference, especially with the extra work that would have to be done in the off season for the staff?
Well, right now we just have to be creative. So the FIBA window is on 22 and 25. Gila starts practice on the 15th. And so we have that 10-day window until the 25th. The PBA All Filipino starts in March, first week of March. So we will be back by then. And I think that's why the program that was laid out by Coach Tim works well with all the stakeholders, because we won't be requiring players from all the leagues to be in training for the national team for a long period of time, so as not to disrupt the calendars of those leagues. And again, we have capable coaching staff in Ginebra that can handle practices while we are training for the windows. So yeah, we're still confident that we can prepare well, and we're confident that with our All Filipino lineup that we can compete well and contend for a championship come next conference.
Coach, as a final note, speaking of confidence, I have to ask you the confidence with working and the dynamics working with Coach Tim Cone, a coach like him, now with Ginebra, and of course now Gilas, even if you wear a different hat with both roles. How is this dynamic, and what's so great about being with Coach Tim Cone?
Oh, just the learning every day. You know, you learn every day, and I'm like just a sponge to try and absorb everything that I learn from him every day and in practice. And right now with this new challenge with the Gilas program, so I'm still going to be serving as the lead assistant. So it's a dual capacity. I'll be a lead assistant and the team manager, and so I would have to do my job as team manager in advance, you know, to anticipate all the needs of the team. At the same time, during the training and the window, I'll still be there to assist Coach Tim with what he needs. And I think it's just a rapport all through the years. We've been very successful together, working together, and we hope we can bring that to the national team, not only now, but in the foreseeable future.
I think we're getting to the point you're going to see Coach Tim Cone more than Mom, Dad. But either way, again, congratulations on the gig. Congratulations on another well-fought conference. And of course, I know you want more for the next one for Barangay Ginebra. But I'll see you later tonight. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Ako rin, makikikain ako, Coach.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Welcome.
I'm inviting myself over.
Go ahead, come on down.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Hey, Coach.
All right, see you. All right, so after the break, we'll hear from superstar setter Jia de Guzman for part 2 of her Inside the Game interview. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game.
You mentioned the other Filipino athletes. Do you guys have a chance to congregate, magdamayan ng konti, magkwentuhan? And I know you got to play against Jaja also. Tell us about that experience.
Jaja, I've gone against Jaja back in high school, college, the pros, played with her in the national team. Seeing how Jaja has been and going up against her, she's really grown as an athlete. And she's been here for years, so given she's very well adjusted to the Japanese style of volleyball, and add to that, she's fluent in Japanese. Like, congrats to her, by the way, because she recently passed her Japanese language proficiency test. I just want to share that I really appreciate Jaja as a friend also, because despite her being in a team that's currently undefeated and #1, and her stats being exceptional, as in really exceptional, she's been so supportive of me playing here, to the point that actually we had a Christmas game, our team, back in December 23, and I was surprised to see Jaja there. She watched the game before flying home to the Philippines for Christmas. What made it more special was the game she watched was the first game I got awarded as the leaguer of the match, because we won that game and I was awarded player of the game. So extra special, and I was really happy that she was there, and she was so happy for me also. So I really love Jaja, and I admire her as a player also.
What an amazing story, and parang ganda nung convergence, nung confluence of events, sumakto. Let's talk about Creamline now. When they won the championship, Kyle Negrito obviously just sent out tremendous amount of love to you. Tell us about, your connection still with Kyle and how she performed this conference and just went through a clean sweep here in that last All-Filipino.
I'm so proud of Kyle. I know how hard she worked for that. But there's one thing I just want to share, Boom.
Please,
Back when Creamline was thinking about recruiting Kyle, and this was like way before pandemic, when we were thinking about recruiting Kyle, I did not want her in the team.
Wow! Breaking news ito!
I did not want her in the team, but not because I didn't like her. She's an amazing person, no question. But because I respected her and admired her as one of the high caliber setters in the country. And she could help raise the level of volleyball in the country by setting as a starter in another team in PVL. You get what I mean, right?
Yes.
And she knows this. I shared this with her, and I reminded her about this multiple times. But yes, I'm glad she went to Creamline, because I also get my fair share of advice and confidence boosts from her. And even back when I was in Ateneo, FEU always gave us a run for our money, and Kyle was the one setting for that team. So I knew she could lead teams to greater heights. Like I knew she would with Creamline when I decided to take the opportunity to play in Japan. In our relationship, I think it was just a matter of reminding her that she is a great setter, because skill-wise, I have no questions. She just needed someone to remind her that she's good. She needs to give herself more credit, and she should. She led the team to a sweep and a championship. So I'm just really happy for Kyle.
Did you get to watch the finals, and what were your impressions about not just the finals, but just the sweep?
I did. I watched all the games that I could, even if it ended late here, because Japan is 1 hour ahead, and I know some of Creamline's games were quite late.
11, 12.
But throughout the season, I know it's crazy. But I've always had a lot of faith in Creamline. Like, the system is rock solid, and everyone from the players to the staff, everyone is very experienced. But of course, you know this, and everyone knows this, that I would rather play than watch big games, because I get so nervous not being in control or not being in it. So, and you don't know what's going to happen. And the final series was insane for me. The scores were so close, and you also have to give it to Chocomucho for putting up a great fight. They played so well this conference also. So Yeah, so when Creamline finally won in game two, I was just so happy and proud and very relieved. And I know it wasn't easy for them at all going into that conference, but I know the team is very experienced in facing challenges head on. So honestly, I never had any doubts that they would make it.
I'm glad that you gave credit also to the opponent, obviously Chocomucho, because you know the only team they lost to was you guys, and they had
Yeah.
Creamline on the ropes in game 1 and 2, di ba? Kaya yung
Yes.
sinasabi mong kinakabahan ka at medyo natetense ka, I totally get it. I want to talk about your team. I'll still call it your team's big moves in Bea and Denise, two people you know very well. Talk about them really quickly, just and their addition and their value to a Creamline system and what they're going to learn and what they're going to improve for themselves individually and what are they going to contribute to the team, in your opinion.
And got a couple of championships with Bea and Ateden, so I have no doubts that they can contribute, not just skills, but also the experience and the maturity that can help Creamline grow even more. And Bea is a very vocal player. We love that. We love that in Creamline. She's very competitive and she plays with a lot of speed. So, I'm excited for that also. And Ateden, she's one of the calmest, most mature liberos I know. So I'm sure she has also some wisdom to share to our liberos back in Creamline. Yeah.
Gia, anything to say to your fans as a last word? Because this is a rare opportunity that we have you. And first of all, we really appreciate not only your time, but the things that you've shared today. Just incredible. The honesty and all the things that we haven't read about. So we appreciate that. Can you just say hi to your fans and tell them, how much you miss them too? Because they miss you a lot.
Yeah, but I want to thank you also, Boom, first for allowing me this opportunity to share my experiences. And I'm really happy that I get to share everything I've gone through so far here in Japan, and to our fans and supporters back in the Philippines. I miss all of you. I miss playing in front of you and being with you. But know that everything I learned here, I will bring back to the country, and I will keep doing my best. And I really feel all of your love from back home, even though we're thousands of miles away. I love all of you, and I hope to see you guys again soon.
And that was the Jia de Guzman for Inside the Game. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Boom Gonzalez.
And I'm Paulo de Rosario. This has been The Game.